The heartwarming bond in the courtship of Eddie's father captivated millions. But what was happening off-screen told a very different story. From Hollywood legends hiding painful secrets to child stars who nearly lost everything, their real lives were nothing like a sitcom. Join us as we find out the truth behind Bill Bixby as Tom Corbett. Bill Bixby was born on January 22, 1934, in San Francisco, California. At 35 years old, he played Tom Corbett, the widowed magazine editor raising his young son in the courtship of Eddie's father. His calm, controlled performance became the emotional anchor of the show, making audiences believe in him as the perfect father. From the outside, his success looked effortless. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, Bixby had already built a strong reputation in television, and the courtship of Eddie's father turned him into a household name. He later strengthened that image through projects like The Incredible Hulk, where his quiet intensity carried the series. But even at the height of that success, the pressure to maintain that composed, ideal man image never faded. It followed him into every role and every public appearance. That image began to crack in his personal life. He married actress Brenda Bennett in 1971, and together they had a son, Christopher. Their marriage ended in 1980, but the real devastation came soon after. Christopher died suddenly in 1981 during a skiing trip. 1 year later, Brenda Bennett took her own life with a gun. 2 losses, back-to-back, left Bixby completely alone, while he continued working and appearing composed in front of the world. Then came the final blow. In 1991, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, yet he continued directing and producing, including work on Blossom, pushing through visible physical decline. The disease returned aggressively, and during that same period, his marriage to Laura Michaels ended. Pain, exhaustion, and grief overlapped, but he kept working. On November 21, 1993, Bill Bixby died at the age of 59 from complications of prostate cancer, just days after completing his final project. He passed away in Century City, Los Angeles, leaving behind an estimated net worth of $10 million. His legacy remains powerful, but what lingers most is the contrast. A man who perfected the image of stability on screen, while his real life quietly fell apart. Brandon Cruz as Eddie Corbett. Brandon Cruz was born on May 28, 1962, in Bakersfield, California. At 7 years old, he played Eddie Corbett, the sensitive young boy at the center of the courtship of Eddie's father. His innocence gave the show its heart, making him one of the most recognizable child actors of his era. As a child, Brandon stood out for his natural emotional depth, something rare at such a young age. The show's success placed him in front of millions, and he became instantly recognizable. But that visibility came with pressure. Expectations from studios, attention from the public, and the constant comparison between his real self and the character Eddie. As the series ended, the attention faded just as quickly, leaving him in a space many young actors struggle to understand. That shift carried into his adult life and into his relationships. He married Elizabeth Liz Finkelstein in 1994, and together they built a family with 2 children. The marriage lasted more than 2 decades, but the long-term weight of identity, career changes, and personal struggles eventually led to their divorce in 2018. During those years, he also made a sharp turn away from his child star image, joining the punk band Dead Kennedys in a move that surprised many. The tension from those earlier years did not simply disappear, it reshaped his path. He moved through intense environments tied to music and counterculture, facing instability while trying to redefine himself beyond fame. Even as he continued creative work, the struggle to build a stable identity remained a constant challenge, one that shaped his decisions moving forward. As of 2026, Brandon Cruz is 64 years old. He now works as an addiction recovery specialist, helping others navigate the same kind of instability he once faced. With an estimated net worth of around $3 million, his life today reflects a different kind of success. Miyoshi Umeki, as Mrs. Livingston. Miyoshi Umeki was born on May 8, 1929, in Otaru, Japan. At 40 years old, she played Mrs. Livingston, the live-in housekeeper who cared for Eddie and supported Tom as a mother figure in the courtship of Eddie's father. Her role was essential to the family dynamic, acting as the emotional bridge between father and son. Thanks to the role, her rise was historic, but also limiting. After moving to the U.S. in 1955, she signed with Mercury Records and released 2 albums, then broke through with Sayonara, 1957, becoming the first Asian actor to win an Academy Award. She followed with Flower Drum Song on Broadway in 1958 and its 1961 film version, earning a Tony nomination. Yet despite that success, she appeared in only 5 American films, repeatedly cast as the same quiet, submissive character, no matter her range. That pattern continued into her personal life. She married producer Win Opie on July 23, 1958, but the marriage ended in divorce in February 1967 after 9 years. On October 26, 1968, she married director Randall Hood, and they had 1 child while building a quieter life running a film equipment rental business. That stability ended abruptly when Hood died on August 16, 1976 in Los Angeles, leaving her alone once again. After that loss, her withdrawal became absolute. Following her role in the courtship of Eddie's father, she chose a complete retirement that lasted more than 30 years. She reportedly destroyed photos, recordings, and personal archives tied to her career, rejecting the identity that Hollywood had built for her. It was not just stepping away, it was erasing a public life that had never fully belonged to her. On August 28, 2007, Miyoshi Umeki died of cancer at the age of 78 in Licking, Missouri, after moving there to live near her son and his family. She left behind an estimated net worth of around $5 million. Her story remains striking. A woman who broke barriers in 1957, yet spent her final decades turning away from the very fame that made her history. Jodie Foster as Joey Kelly. Jodie Foster was born on November 19, 1962, in Los Angeles, California. At 9 years old, she played Joey Kelly, the confident and sharp young friend in the courtship of Eddie's father. Even at that age, her intelligence and natural control on screen made her stand out, hinting at a career far bigger than a typical child role. Her early success was undeniable, but it came with a level of pressure few children could tamel. By her teenage years, she was already starring in major films like Taxi Driver, earning critical acclaim while growing up under constant scrutiny. Then came a moment that turned her life into something far darker than fame. In 1981, a man obsessed with her, John Hinckley Jr., attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan just to impress her. Overnight, Jodie became the center of a national tragedy, forced to live under protection, followed by bodyguards, and watched by the entire world. That intensity carried into her private life. She entered a long-term relationship with producer Sidney Bernard in 1993, and they built a family together with 2 sons, Charlie and Kit. Their relationship lasted 14 years before ending in 2008, a quiet but significant turning point. Years later, she found stability again, marrying actress Alexandra Hedison in 2014. But for decades, her personal life remained under constant speculation, with her identity debated publicly long before she chose to speak about it on her own terms. The psychological impact of her early fame and the assassination incident never fully disappeared. Jodie rarely spoke about it, but the experience shaped her choices, her privacy, and the way she navigated Hollywood. Even as she won 2 Academy Awards for The Accused and The Silence of the Lambs, she remained guarded, carefully controlling what the world could see, as if protecting herself from ever becoming the center of that kind of chaos again. As of 2026, Jodie Foster is 63 years old and continues to work as a respected actress and director. With an estimated net worth of around $100 million, she stands as one of the strongest survivors of child stardom, someone who endured obsession, pressure, and fear, yet still built a career defined not by scandal, but by control and resilience. Christina Holland as Tina Rickles. Christina Holland was born on February 25, 1944, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. At 25 years old, she played Tina Rickles, the sharp and capable secretary to Tom Corbett in The Courtship of Eddie's Father. Her confident, intelligent presence added a modern edge to the series, making her a subtle but essential part of its balance. Her early success looked steady, but it came with constant pressure to stay visible. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, she appeared in more than 20 television series, while also building a second career in voice acting, lending her voice to characters in The Funky Phantom and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids. She was everywhere, but never fully in control of her own direction, moving from role to role in a system that demanded consistency but offered little stability. That instability showed clearly in her personal life. She married Ron Poindexter on July 3, 1966, but the marriage ended in January 1975 after nearly 9 years, right as her career was most active. In 1980, she married Eric Alexander Tam, and they had one child together, but that relationship also ended in divorce. 2 marriages, both collapsing over time, left her balancing motherhood with a career that never fully settled. The turning point came when the emotional weight of that environment became too much. Holland later described Hollywood in the 1970s as shallow and exhausting, a place that pushed her to question everything. Instead of continuing, she made a decisive break. By 2000, she was working as a licensed psychologist, focusing on patients dealing with trauma and abuse. Christina Holland passed away on February 22, 2023. Just 3 days before her 79th birthday, at the age of 78. She left behind a dual legacy, over 22 television appearances and decades of work in mental health, with an estimated net worth of around $1.5 million. In the end, her life stands out not for how long she stayed in Hollywood, but for how deliberately she chose to walk away from it. James Komack as Norman Tinker. James Komack was born on August 3, 1924, in New York, USA. At 45 years old, he played Norman Tinker, the eccentric Uncle Norman, in The Courtship of Eddie's Father, while also serving as the creator and executive producer of the series. His dual role gave the show its structure and tone, making him not just part of the cast, but the force controlling everything behind it. His rise was built on relentless drive. Before television, Komack worked as a stand-up comedian, recorded 8 albums and 14 singles, and even had a gold record with The Nickname Song. He moved into writing and directing, earning an Emmy nomination for Dr. Kildare, then went on to direct shows like The Dick Van Dyke Show and 77 Sunset Strip. By the late 1960s, he wasn't just working in television, he was creating it, launching The Courtship of Eddie's Father and later Chico and the Man and Welcome Back, Cotter, even helping discover stars like John Travolta. That success came with pressure that spilled into his personal life. He married Marilyn Clooney Cohen in 1955, and they built a life in Beverly Hills with their daughter Maxine. Their home was described as open house 24 hours a day, filled with industry people, constant meetings, and non-stop work. Behind that lifestyle was a man known for extreme perfectionism. On set, arguments were frequent, and tensions ran high as he tried to control every detail of production and performance. That constant intensity took a physical toll. Managing hit shows, handling actors, and chasing ratings year after year created a level of stress that never truly eased. Even as he continued working on projects like Another Day, 1978, and directing Porky's Revenge, 1985. The strain on his heart quietly built over time. The same drive that made him successful also pushed his health closer to collapse. On December 24, 1997, James Komack died at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles due to heart problems at the age of 73. He left behind a powerful television legacy and an estimated net worth of around $15 million. But his story carries a sharp edge. He helped build some of television's biggest hits, yet the pressure of controlling it all slowly wore him down from the inside. Willie Aames as Harold O'Brien. Willie Aames was born on July 15, 1960, in Newport Beach, California. At 11 years old, he played Harold O'Brien, one of the boys in Eddie's social circle, representing the everyday friendships and school life surrounding Eddie in the courtship of Eddie's father. His role helped show how Eddie connected with other children, adding a more realistic view of childhood outside the home. As a child and teenager, his career exploded at a pace few could handle. By the mid-1970s, he was starring in 8 is Enough, becoming a teen idol with million-dollar earnings, a recording contract with his band Willie Aames and Paradise, and roles in films like Zapped and Paradise. But that rapid success came with pressure, fame, money, and expectations piling up before he was even an adult, creating a lifestyle that was difficult to control. That instability followed him into his personal life. He married Vicki Weatherman in 1979 and had a son, Christopher, but the marriage ended in divorce. In 1986, he married Malo McCaslin and had a daughter, Harley Jean, yet that relationship also collapsed. Years later, he married Winnie Hung in 2014, marking a third attempt at rebuilding stability. Across these relationships, his life reflected a pattern: success, mistakes, and repeated attempts to start over. At the same time, addiction took control. Aames struggled with alcohol abuse for years, admitting to moments of self-harm and deep guilt, including cutting himself after stealing from his landlord. By 2009, the situation had collapsed completely. His car was repossessed, and he was forced to sell personal belongings and memorabilia at a garage sale just to survive. At his lowest point, he became homeless, sleeping under bridges, a shocking fall for someone who once earned millions. As of 2026, Willie Aames is 65 years old and has rebuilt his life step by step. After working as a Cruz director in 2010 and returning to acting in later years, including the 2024 film Armageddon Road, he now lives with stability after decades of chaos. With an estimated net worth of around $800,000, his story is one of the most dramatic reversals in Hollywood: a rise to fame, a total collapse, and a rare second chance few ever achieve. David Ketchum as Joe Kelly. David Ketchum was born on February 4, 1928, in Quincy, Illinois. At 41 years old, he played Joe Kelly, a family acquaintance who interacted with Tom Corbett and his son in the courtship of Eddie's father, appearing in 3 episodes. His role, though brief, helped support the adult world around the father and son story, adding realism to their daily life. Unlike many actors chasing fame, Ketchum built his career steadily. He appeared in over 100 roles across television and film, including Get Smart, where he played Agent 13, famously hiding in mailboxes and absurd locations, and The Mary Tyler Moore Show. He even wrote scripts for shows like The Andy Griffith Show and Petticoat Junction. His career was not explosive, but it was consistent, disciplined, and quietly enduring, a rarity in an industry driven by visibility. That same discipline carried into his personal life. He married singer Louise Bryant in 1957, and together they had 2 daughters, maintaining a long, stable family life that stood in contrast to Hollywood's usual chaos. While others were consumed by parties and excess, Ketchum stayed away from that world, choosing routine over risk, a decision that shaped not only his career, but his longevity. Instead of facing the collapses seen in many of his peers, Ketchum avoided the patterns that often lead to decline. He continued working into later years, appearing in films like Young Doctors in Love, 1982, and The Other Sister, 1999, while also maintaining his writing and performance work. Sadly, David Ketchum passed away on August 10, 2025, at the age of 97 due to heart failure in Thousand Oaks, California, though his death was not publicly reported until August 22, 2025. He left behind a long career, a stable family, and an estimated net worth of around $1.2 million. In the end, his story stands apart, not for scandal or tragedy, but for the rare discipline that allowed him to outlast nearly everyone around him. Jerry Stiller as Paul Sterling. Jerry Stiller was born on June 8, 1927, in New York City, USA. At 42 years old, he played Paul Sterling, a family acquaintance and adult friend who interacted with Tom Corbett and his circle in the courtship of Eddie's father. His role added humor and realism to the adult relationships in the story, showing how Tom's world extended beyond just father and son. His early career was far from easy. Before fame, Stiller struggled with severe anxiety and stage fright, even while performing live. Everything changed when he met Meara in 1953, whom he married in 1954. Together, they formed the comedy duo Stiller and Meara, and by 1962, they were appearing regularly on The Ed Sullivan Show, becoming one of the most recognized husband and wife comedy acts in America. That partnership defined his personal life. Stiller and Meara remained married for more than 60 years, raising 2 children, including actor Ben Stiller. However, their success also created pressure. By 1970, their live performances were putting strain on their relationship, forcing them to stop performing together on stage to save their marriage. Instead, they shifted into projects like Take 5 with Stiller and Meara, 1977 to 1978, continuing to work together without destroying their bond. Over time, he turned his early struggles into strength. His later career exploded with roles like Frank Costanza, the loud, unpredictable father of George in Seinfeld, 1993 to 1998, which earned him an Emmy nomination in 1997. He followed that with Arthur Spooner, the eccentric father-in-law in The King of Queens, 1998 to 2007, proving that even after decades in the industry, he could still redefine himself. On May 11, 2020, Jerry Stiller died at the age of 92 from natural causes at his home in New York City. He was buried at the Nantucket Jewish Cemetery in Massachusetts. With an estimated net worth of around $12.5 million, he left behind not just a long career, but a rare legacy. A man who played fathers on screen and in real life held together a family and a marriage that lasted a lifetime. Meara as Bunny Sterling. Meara was born on September 20th, 1929, in Brooklyn, New York. At 40 years old, she played Bunny Sterling, the wife of Paul Sterling, and a supporting female character connected to the adult social circle in the courtship of Eddie's father. Her role reflected the married life surrounding Tom Corbett, adding another perspective on relationships and family structure. Her early life was marked by trauma that shaped her resilience. At the age of 11, her mother died by suicide, a SOB that deeply affected her upbringing. Despite this, she pursued acting, studying at the Dramatic Workshop and HB Studio before starting her career in 1948. By the early 1960s, she rose to fame as part of the comedy duo Stiller and Meara, performing 36 times on The Ed Sullivan Show and becoming a national phenomenon. Their 1963 comedy album became a commercial success, confirming their dominance in American comedy. Her marriage to Jerry Stiller, whom she met in 1953 and married in 1954, became both her strength and her struggle. The two built one of the most famous husband-wife comedy teams in the U.S., but by 1970, they made the difficult decision to stop performing together because it was damaging their marriage. She later admitted, "I didn't know where the act ended and our marriage began." Despite this, they remained married for over 60 years, raising 2 children, including actor Ben Stiller. In her later years, health issues became unavoidable. Meara suffered multiple strokes, which forced her into long-term care at the Hebrew Home for the Aged in Manhattan. At the same time, she had spent decades navigating both religious identity, converting from Catholicism to Judaism, and the harsh reality of being a female comedian in the 1960s, a field dominated by men and filled with industry prejudice. Meara passed away on May 23, 2015, at the age of 85 from natural causes following complications from strokes. She was living in Manhattan at the time of her death. She left behind an estimated net worth of around $12 million, along with a legacy that combined comedy, endurance, and one of the longest-lasting marriages in entertainment history. After 57 years, The Courtship of Eddie's Father is more than just a classic. It's a story of lives that changed in ways no one expected. Some found lasting success, others faced struggles behind the scenes, and a few are no longer with us. So which story surprised you the most after all these years? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more then and now stories you won't want to miss.